Thank you so much for clicking on the video. Make sure you leave a like and you comment down below. And if you really want to keep up to date, hit the subscribe button and also ring that bell. If there was ever a genre of games that I personally don't mess with much, it's definitely gotta be horror. It makes me insanely tense up from the horrifying creatures and puts panic directly into my heart, so it doesn't exactly put me in the mood to game. But it is good to change up the game genres. Keep life interesting, you know? I heard through the grapevine that there was a game so incredibly scary that you couldn't play in the dark. Or at least people regretted playing in the dark when the game came out initially. A reaction like that for a game from 1995 definitely gets me intrigued. This game was a part of gaming history as well, yet no one really talks about it. From the horrifying world of 1995 comes this little-known game, D. Nothing more. One could say that the title doesn't make sense, and one could say that the title just adds to its mystery, and personally, I'm more of the curious side. What does D mean? Distress? Daughter? Death?
These nuts.
Originally, this game was released on a system known as the 3DO.
Don't worry too much about not knowing what the 3DO is. I barely know it myself, and I'm familiar with a lot of gaming consoles.
Walk it off.
Then the game gained enough attention to warrant more ports to the other consoles, including the Sega Saturn, one of the many Sega consoles between the release of the Genesis and the Dreamcast, MS-DOS, which is just an older computer operating system, but basically it's a computer, and the PlayStation 1. Now, I do love the PlayStation 1, but I will not be paying close to $100 when it comes to PC for like $5 or something.
PC will do.
Regardless, it's time to acknowledge the unknown horrors that is D. Our story begins in the year 1997, because as we all know, nothing good can happen from the year 1997. Nothing. A mass murder has occurred in the hospital somewhere in downtown LA. The murderer being a doctor from said hospital. The best doctor. A quiet, sweet doctor. Best of all America, apparently. And the director of the hospital. Good lord, might as well be human being of the century, doctor. One fateful night, Dr. Richter Harris turned heel and went insane for unknown reasons. He gunned down innocent lives, already in pain because they are already in the hospital, of course. Richter Harris has barricaded himself behind hospital doors, with many hostages still inside, still presumed to be alive. And to top it off, the police cannot reach him because they cannot jump a fence. So in a desperate attempt to reach him, they get the next best person on the case, Richter's daughter, Laura Harris. Laura enters the hospital to see if she can reach the man she thought she once knew, to see what made a sweet Renaissance man into a mass murderer. Once Laura enters the hospital, we encounter some of the horror presented from the front doors. Laura carefully tiptoeing around the corpses, walking through this dreaded hospital, and then that thing from Terminator 2 wraps her up, and with Laura now in some castle, welcome to the game. This is the gameplay. No, this isn't a continuous cutscene. What you are witnessing is the game itself. See, what makes this game a part of gaming history isn't just because of its strange atmosphere and tense gameplay that captivated people, or its, award-winning player models. D holds a place in the books for being the first game, to my knowledge at least, to be entirely made up of full motion cutscenes. Technically, there isn't even a single bit of gameplay footage in here. All full motion videos being utilized, baby. What you see here is what you get, and what you get is an exploration horror puzzle game. Dive deep into this dark, weird underworld castle that Laura, in this case you, has been transported to find out what is going on with your father. Within this bizarre slideshow of a game is some unknown force that's constantly stalking, taunting, and haunting Laura, and figure out what the D is. The destination of where your father is. As you look for your father, you slowly try to piece together the dark secrets within. Walk through the castle, find your father, solve puzzles, stare at his water face, and then gasp in avoiding dangerous traps. All of that must be done, all while you are being haunted by something. Presumably, your father is in control, since within Laura's first two steps, your father's voice calls out to you and basically yells at you to piss off and leave. But you are a rebel teen daughter, so you know exactly what to do, girl. Now, if you've been visibly watching the footage, I know what you're thinking. Damn, look at these cheesy ass graphics. Why is Dr. Richter a mannequin that barely moves his mouth? Why are the graphics so grainy? Is Laura okay? She's looking paler than the moonlight. Why does Laura's hair look like a pack of uncooked ramen noodles and dried up angel hair? Well, that's because it's 1995. At this point for gaming, human character models were not exactly perfected yet, or done well. Full 3D characters in games would either end up looking like horrifying graphical monsters or would have a smooth polygonal figure with a face that has one expression, never expressing anything else. Trust me, voice actors would have to make their line delivery somewhat believable. You were not going to figure out through facial expressions.
What is it?
Kenneth was killed too. Maybe by this creature.
Now, I know graphics-wise this game does not hold up, but I do like the graphics in this game. Not because they're good. I like the graphics because even though they're not as great, the environment still looks fantastic. And also I like making fun of the characters as well. If there is ever a perfect console that can create dreadful visuals, sight restrictions galore, scary jagged creatures, and unnatural humans for horror games, PlayStation 1 reigns supreme for sure. If you follow any independent game dev that makes current horror games with a low budget yet scary experiences, they tend to make the graphics look as close to a PlayStation 1 as possible. Characters indeed look so stiff, so unordinary and so jagged, and all that mixed with low gray surroundings and silent rooms with only sounds of your footsteps, it really makes a damn fine haunting experience. Sure, it may not be full of A+ project materials here, or a C- for that fact, but this is what intrigued me about the game in the first place, because somehow you're telling me that this was too scary for someone, even after 1995 this got to people? What's this game's D? What's the deal?
What's the deal? And what is the deal with the black box?
I never would have thought a console's restrictions would almost perfect the horror scene. Not to mention this was from a console that was trying to get more of a kid audience too. From Disney games, Spyro the Dragon, and anything else developers could make to draw kids' attention. Never thought a console trying to get the younger demographic could make a killer horror game. Now, if you decide to read the manual, which I know everyone does all the time, the best part of the manual is the last page. How to enjoy the game. To get 120% enjoyment out of your CD-ROM. Wait a minute. I didn't put in a CD copy of this game into my computer.
Sure is spooky.
Make the room as dark as possible by drawing the curtains and turning off the lights. Turn up the volume. Can you solve all the riddles before the door to the other world closes? The developers really want to get the message to people saying that they will terrify you. Or maybe they know that being in the light doesn't make the models look good, so please keep it dark. We don't want you to notice how polygonal this is. Alright, I've talked enough about these trash-ass graphics. What about the game, damn it? Come on, man. D the game. The gameplay, boy. What D we D? As I said before, walk around the castle, look for clues to solve riddles, discover secrets, and get to your father. And when I say walk, I mean walk to a point that you start to decompose in your chair. While you wait for Laura to elderly walk to the other side of the room, you can read the manual to find out what you have to do and see what items you have. Yeah, the game does not explain anything that you have to do or show you what you have. Only way to know the controls and objective is through the manual. So when you get your copy of D, make sure you have a damn manual on you because you ain't figuring out shit unless you just want to ram the keyboard. On you at the start is two things, a compact and a clock. The compact is meant for two things. It gives you hints on what to do next if you're stuck, and to check your makeup. You can't be looking basic in this castle. There may be a cute guy down here. The other item is a clock. It serves no purpose to use, only to keep your eye on the time. Why would you need to keep an eye on the time? Because this game is in fact on a time limit. You only have 2 hours to beat this game, or it will automatically end your game without finding out the mystery about your father. Meaning that you are stuck in this realm, and for you, you have to start from the very beginning of the entire game. One run and done. You cannot save your game. Now trust me, I know that sounds like a very strict time limit to beat an entire ass game, but this game is so incredibly short. I had done 3 full playthroughs in one night. One of the playthroughs I didn't even play, I just sat there until time ran out so I could get the bad ending recorded. If you know what to do, this game will take you about an hour, and if you really don't know what to do, maybe an extra 30 to 40 minutes, so 2 hours is actually generous. D is really simplistic. Just use arrows to move. Look at certain areas and use items when necessary. It's like you're playing a DVD menu game now that I think about it. What this game aims to sell you on is more so its story and the environments, because in terms of what you actually do, there isn't much to say without spoiling the game. While you're experiencing the game, it gives you kind of bits and pieces of where this game may be going. Now there is a twist close to the end of the game, and it is cheesy as can be. I won't spoil it, but Trust me, it's straight cheddar. You know what isn't too cheesy? The environments. Even though the game graphics-wise is not exactly high quality, D does a damn fine job of making the areas you explore sinister and haunting. Dark, silent, and full of corpses just to add that extra little hint of dread. Laura's wide-ass turns can make you tense up over creatures that may be around the corner, or maybe even her. Even Laura scares me, and all the devs had to do was put a mirror in front of her. Along with the looks of this game, the sounds. Good lord, it's mostly quiet. When there is audio, it is loud and eerie. So much so where the audio is literally clipping. The music is incredibly cinematic with sounds that can, at the very most, make you kind of jolt up. It does the equivalent of an alarm on your phone that you weren't ready for. The music cues actually give away when the scares happen a majority of the time anyhow, so. But I was still intrigued by the story and invested with this bizarre journey. The characters are intriguing as well, even though I could trash on their looks all day every day. The father being like the most respectable person and then a killer overnight gets me very invested into what has been done. Laura, on the other hand, she just kind of exists to make GIF reaction faces. The only reason I even know her name is because Richter won't let me forget her name.
Laura. 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 Laura.
Some puzzles require a key or simple thought processing, while some puzzles are just guesswork. They're either really easy or really nonsensical. Not much to it besides ramming the up key to make Laura psychologically move faster so you can breeze through the other playthroughs. Because yes, believe it or not, there's also multiple endings, which all have spoilers, so I'm not going to show any of it. So if you ever consider wanting to give this game a try, it should not be for the gameplay. It should be for the decor. Environments or having a first-time experience should be your motivation. Other than that, from the way I see it, this is the first genuinely scary horror game from a first-person aspect. Not many games back in the day could pull off a first-hand horror experience like D has done. This is not overlooking behind a character's shoulder. This is not a text-based game with pictures to accompany it. It's not from different camera angles. You are in Laura's shoes. I mean, this is the only horror game that's been pulled off in 1995 successfully. I do appreciate what D has done for video games. It sets a template for future horror games, and the developers made the most out of the technology they were handed at the time. It makes a pretty great spooky game, honestly. But the main question is, would I recommend D to people? No, not really. The game is very short, graphics don't hold up incredibly well, and the game itself feels like more of a short story to hear once and never hear again. With that said, I will say that you should experience this game just once. Whether you try D for yourself, or you could potentially have friends over to experience for the first time as well. You could play to witness early 1995 gameplay and make fun of everything, or no, that's actually about it. It could be scary for some people, I suppose, but for most people, probably not. I have some mad respect for D, but I think D will stay right where it belongs. In 1995. Laura's dry-ass hair. Her hair looks like it needs ragu on top. Does she even use conditioner for that shit? Does her hair even touch water?